An Unexpected Future by A Series on AO3. Episode 7, Chapter 7, Hubris. Five was an idiot. He'd been kicking himself all day. Prove how compliant he was by cooking a meal for them to have when they got back, he thought. How hard could it be, he thought. He was never taking Mom's job for granted again. Why did he decide to try and do a complicated dish like chicken curry right off the bat? Why did he assume that cooking would be easy? Things had just gone bad from worse. Now he had nothing to show off for his efforts, and Yamana and Aizawa were suspicious of him. He should have just focused on the stupid packet and waited obediently for them. But this apartment was so small. It's only been a day in this place, and he felt like he was going to vibrate out of his skin. At least in the hospital, he could walk around the floor he was on. And as annoying as all the shopping was, at least it was something. But he had been left alone with only 4.5 rooms to wander and nothing to do with his hands. He'd been training every day of his life in a house that had 42 bedrooms, and he didn't know what to do with himself now that he couldn't train and wander wherever he liked. There was only so much snooping and pacing he could do, and neither of those would help him in his goal to make sure Aizawa and Yamada very much knew Five was not a child and should not be treated as such. And look where it got him. Five had played himself, managed to prove the exact opposite to himself. At least he had been able to play it off well enough. There was a knock at the door. Never mind, he was just a failure all around then. Five rubbed at his forehead in an attempt to dispel some of the building tension in the front of his skull. Five jumped as there was another knock on the door, and Yamada's voice came through the door. Pumpkin? Five blinked dumbly at the door, having expected it to be open regardless by now. But he knew an opportunity when he saw it. Quickly combing his hands through his hair and taking a deep breath before clearing his throat to say, Come in. Yamada came through the door with a small smile on his face. Hey, little listener, can we talk for a minute? I imagine we will regardless of my answer to that question. Five quipped. Yamada snorted, taking a seat on the edge of Five's bed. You've got that right. Come on. Yamada patted the spot next to him on the bed. Five defiantly sat in the desk chair across from him instead, just to see what happened. The answer was, anticlimactically, nothing, aside from a fond roll of Yamada's eyes. Why was he tolerating so much disobedience? Okay, that works too. Yamada continued, oblivious to Five's continued bewilderment. His expression shifted from fond to serious, and Five found himself, instinctually, sitting straighter to match. We need to talk about what happened while we were gone. Nothing happened, Five insisted, with practice eased. And more importantly, we need to talk about that, Yamada said, pointing a finger at Five. You're lying about it. Five could hear his heart pounding in his ears, his hands gripping each other tightly. I don't know what you're talking about. Yamada's frown deepened, and he raised a skeptical eyebrow at Five. Five held his ground. Yamada sighed, squaring his shoulders sternly. Look, I'm sure you have your reasons. It probably kept you safer while you were with your dad, but that's not something we could tolerate here. It's okay if you mess up, but we need to know. You need to tell us. We'll help you fix it. Five managed to stop himself from rolling his eyes, but he couldn't keep from snoring. Something funny? Yamada asked. I'm not going to incriminate myself for you to use against me. Yamada raised an eyebrow. Is what you did illegal? Of course not. Then it's not incrimination, Yamada pointed out, waving it off. Besides, it's less about what you did and more about the fact that you tried to cover it up. That sort of thing helps you in the short term, but always bites you in the long term. It's a bad habit to have, and can be deadly if you bring it with you to the field. That got Five's attention, and he sat a little straighter. Explain. Let's say that your job is to set up a series of traps in a perimeter around a villain's hideout. Yamada started, latching into an example easily. But one of them breaks while you're setting it up. You know that if the higher ups find out that it's your fault that the equipment broke, they're going to charge you for it. But they won't if it's broken by villains. So you make it look like it's set up. And everyone moves according to plan. But now there's a hole in the security, and some of the villains escape through it. Now they're free to shoot at your teammates back, or get a hostage, or just go cause trouble another day. If you had told your teammates up front about the issue, you could have adjusted the plan accordingly. Five rolled his eyes. Who would just leave a hole in the security like that? Just adjust the plan accordingly to make up for the deficiency, or tell the others what they absolutely need to know. How do you decide what they do or don't need to know? Yamada challenged. What if they know something vital you don't? Unlikely. Yamada lightly licked Five's forehead. Very likely. In this day and age, you're almost never able to predict who you'll end up working with. Those people are going to have different experiences and expertise that you won't have a first clue about. And you'll never know when that knowledge might be valuable. What if the damaged equipment reacts negatively with a teammate's work? What if someone else known about the makeup for a building or the people inside? You have no idea what information your teammates may have that may have previously been irrelevant, that may suddenly become relevant with a change of circumstances. Moreover, you should respect the people that you're working with, at least long enough to get the job done. Okay, Five said slowly. But that's a highly specific example. You want something more general then? Yamada's grin was sharper, looking every bit the same predator that emerged whenever Reynolds came up. Let's say you try to cook something. Five's face burned at being called out, but it comes out wrong. It goes bad enough that it was unsalvageable, and it ruined what was supposed to be dinner for you and your teammates. You pretend it wasn't you, and you let your teammates fight about who was responsible. You drink the last of the milk, but leave the empty carton in the fridge, and do 1,000 little things that don't seem like a big deal, and then run from the consequences. But in the meantime, your teammates are paying for your inaction, either by literally cleaning up your mess or by increasing friction in your team. They might bring that distrust with them into the field and cause them to underperform, or inadvertently cause situations that put themselves or each other at risk. And if they realize it's you causing the problems, it's a worst case scenario you could find yourself without backup in a crucial moment. You need to foster good working relationships with people around you, because they're the ones who are going to be saving your life in a moment of crisis. Plus, it just makes for a more pleasant relationship. Five gripped the fabric of his pants, chewing the inside of his lip, as he took the time to let Yamada's words sink in. Part of him wanted to dismiss the idea as something that could happen to other people, not to him. But the more he thought about it, the more he realized Yamada was right. There had been so many times where Luther and Diego's scobbling had nearly gotten them killed, and Allison needed to step in. One time, Claus took the fall for a prank that Five and Ben had set up, and when he came out of the extra training, he didn't speak to them for a week. The tension between everyone shot through the roof without Claus to break it up, and no less than 10 arguments erupted in its absence. Maybe if they weren't so busy throwing each other under the bus, they would have figured out a way out by now. Maybe that's why Renrold always had them at each other's throats. I suppose you're right, Five admitted, begrudgingly. Good. So do you want to explain the bleach? Five pulled at a loose thread at the end of his sleeves, his face redder than he would like to admit. The rice wasn't coming off of the bottom of the pot. All I really know how to clean is bloodstains, so I tried the same thing. It obviously didn't work. Yamada's face was surprisingly neutral, where he raised an eyebrow. If you were making rice, why didn't you use the rice cooker? There's a cooker specifically for rice. Yama gave a scandalous gasp, a hand over his heart. Okay, that is it. He stood and started heading for the door. Come with me. You're going to help me cook. Why? The question slipped out before Five realized he was thinking it, and then he quickly added, I'm obviously not cut out for it. You're not bad at it, you're just inexperienced. Yamada corrected with a wave of his hand. Besides, I refuse to let you pick up Shota's bad habits. No jelly packs. You're going to learn some basic survival skills if it's the last thing I do. Think of it as one more way you don't need to depend on your parents when you get back. That sounded very appealing. Okay. Despite the mortification, Five still felt in his every fiber of being. He stood and followed Yamada to the kitchen. I love how Yamada handled this and how Yamada explained to Five, the stuff, right? And I love how Yamada's like, hey, I cannot have you go and get Aizawa's bad habits. You're learning how to cook. Yamada's like, no. I know I see a little bit of my queer platonic partner, best friend, lover, whatever the fuck Aizawa is. I see a little bit of you in Aizawa. I see a little bit of Aizawa in you, and I'm not letting that shit harbor. No, I'm stopping it now, if it's the last thing I can do. I know damn well he had flashbacks to, Aizawa when his teen years. It's like, oh, he'll learn one day. He never learns. I really love fanfictions. I don't know what I like more. Aizawa not knowing how to cook, or Aizawa being a gourmet chef who just chooses not to cook. I don't know which one is better. The fact that Aizawa, can't cook, or the fact that I think rationally speaking, Aizawa would cook. He would be decent. He wouldn't be like a gourmet chef, but he would be able to cook himself a meal, because rationally he should be able to do that. And I also have some fanfictions where he is uncleansy in the sense of or not uncleansy, what's it called? Self-care? Not existent? He doesn't take care of himself in the sense of he survives on jelly packs. And I don't know what to feel about that. I feel like his rational side would be rationally, I need to have the certain meals. I personally feel like Aizawa would be the type, okay, look, this, and this, and this is what I'm having. This is protein, this is this, and this. This diet that I've stuck into since high school, and that I've changed, obviously, to accommodate, as I grow up and as I, need more stuff, so I could do my job efficiently. And then we probably have Yamada over there. It's I'm gonna eat what I want to eat at the moment. What? Diet? Never heard of her. Stuff like that. Because, don't get me wrong, I really love the headcanon that Aizawa is absolutely, jelly packs 24/7, coffee 24/7, doesn't fucking take care of himself kind of shit, in the sense of, food. But at the same time, I feel like he would take care of himself. But then again, it's Aizawa. So, would he take care of himself or would he not? Comment in the comments. Yeah. It's taking a moment. But this was a really sweet chapter, and I'm guessing the next chapter is going to be, obviously, teaching him how to cook. And I am excited for that. As always, my raindrops, make sure to eat, sleep, drink water, take your meds. Have a wonderful day or night. Link to my Discord server and socials are down in the description. Subscribe to see more of my content, and thank you so much for watching.